Hi, I'm Lathan, and I'm a Christian.
Hi, I'm Najee, and I'm a Christian.
Hi, I'm Johan, and I'm a Christian.
Hi, I'm Maya, and I'm a Christian. Hi, I'm Caroline, and I'm a Christian. Hi, my name is Davi, and I'm a Distant. Hi, I'm Layla, I'm a Christian, and welcome to BCC Online.
In a world that stands divided, I have decided. In a world that stands divided, I have decided. With my hands and my feet, with my heart and my voice, I will follow Jesus. With my life and my song, I have made this my choice. I will follow Jesus. In a world that stands divided, I have decided, yeah. In a world that stands divided, I have decided. With my hands and my feet, with my heart and my voice, I will follow Jesus. With my life and my song, I have made this my choice. I will follow Jesus. No, no turning back. No turning back. 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 In a world that stands divided, let the church stand united. If you're with me, let me hear you say, I have decided. With my hands and my feet, with my heart and my voice, I will follow Jesus. With my life and my song, I have made this my choice. I will follow Jesus. No, no turning back. No turning back. No, no turning back. No turning back. No, no turning back. No turning back. No, no turning back. No turning back.
We all have this survival instinct inside of us, right? When we get ourselves into a dangerous situation, there's this fight or flight thing that happens. Our pulse quickens, adrenaline floods our bodies, and we are on high alert. We are ready to defend ourselves or flee the danger, whichever seems the most appropriate to us at the time. Our bodies are physically, biologically wired to survive. We, at our most basic level, we want to live. Death is the thing we resist the most. So when Jesus asks us to follow him to his execution, carrying our own gallows, our own electric chair, our own cross, where we learn to submit to death like he did, innocently, humbly, and obediently, thinking of other people the whole time, we naturally resist. Now, one of the most perfect things in the world is a Coca-Cola Classic from McDonald's. Like, nothing's perfect, but that is close. And I don't know what makes their Coke better, but it is just objectively better. Now, when I get a Coke and my son or my daughter, they ask for a drink of it, I go into fight or flight mode. Because to give up a part of that 32-ounce experience of pure, bubbly joy is like giving up a piece of my life. This is my Coke. Spend your own dollar, get your own. I resist. There's a lot about this life that we hold dear. For you, it might be Coke from McDonald's. For some of us, it's our opinions. It's our rights, our privileges, our stuff. What happens when we are asked to take those to the cross? we resist. One day, a young man came up to Jesus and asked what he had to do to inherit the kingdom of God. And Jesus told him to sell everything he had. So the young man went away disappointed because he didn't understand that, as Tim Keller says, when you hear the true gospel message, you are always shocked that it demands more than you thought and it offers more than you could imagine. See, the young man did not know how much following Jesus would cost him, but he also did not understand that letting go of this life of prosperity that he had been holding on to would have gained him a life worth far more. He did not realize that to follow Jesus, you have to die so that you can live. Jesus says this in Matthew 16:24 through 25. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. But what about our dreams, our occupations, our time, our money, our resources, our talents, our toys, our homes, our friends, our family? The only way you can truly live is to die, to crucify all of our thoughts and opinions, rights and privileges, dreams and ambitions, money and possessions. We have to give it all up for the cause of Jesus. And when we do, we will gain far more than we can imagine. Now, when we face teachings like this from Jesus, we naturally resist. We try to sugarcoat it. Well, Jesus did not really mean to give up everything for him. He meant you need to give 10% of your money to the church and raise your kids to know right and wrong and the golden rule and maybe some Bible stories and, got to be a decent person. But that's enough. If that's what he meant, why did he himself pick up a cross and carry it to the place of the skull where he was killed? And why did many of his disciples continue to preach Jesus when they knew it would lead to their deaths? Now, I'm not saying go throw yourself in front of a bus. Your life is a gift to be used in the service of God. It's all about a willingness to put aside your most precious things to pursue the most precious thing of all, a relationship with your Creator. Now, I know that this is not comfortable Christianity, but look around you right now. Maybe we need to be a little uncomfortable with the way that we have been softened to just accept injustice as inevitable, normal, nothing we can do about it, to accept the American way over and above the narrow way, to accept that your best life now is the best thing that God can offer. Now, we won't solve all the problems on our own. We live in a world that's filled with people who think this life is all there is, and so they hold on to everything they have with everything they have. So there are bound to be humans kneeling on the necks of other humans. We live in a messed up and a broken world. But we know the one who can fix it. We know the one who is going to fix it. We have a hope that lives beyond death, one that gives us a new life if we could just stop holding on to everything we have that is precious to us and start sharing our hope in Jesus. Why would we hold on to a Coca-Cola from McDonald's when we know the solution to poverty, injustice, inequality, murder, selfishness, greed, corruption, and death? But it's hard to resist the resistance inside of ourselves. It's hard to deny ourselves daily and pick up our cross. It's hard to face losing all that is precious to us. But we have to start, because a Christian must die to live.
I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. A man's empty praise measures that faith are never enough. And you came along and put me back together satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, failures and flaws. You've seen them all. You still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a place mercy and grace won't find me. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who cares. You turn graves into gardens. You turn roads into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who cares. You turn graves into gardens. You turn roads into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who cares. You're the only one who cares. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing is better than you.
Well, I've got Chanel here with us today, and I just wanted to ask you a couple questions. So, as a Christian, what are some ways that you feel like you can deny yourself and take up your cross on a daily basis?
So I think when I think about taking up your cross,
Mhm.
I think about dying to self.
Mhm.
And I think that something that I personally have always hold dear to my heart, especially in the work that I do, is that my prayer is like, God, I want more of you and less of me.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you say that, it's really saying I'm taking up my cross. It's really saying that I'm dying to myself, that I'm walking in his image and I'm walking in his light, and that I want every single person, and I always pray like this, hey God, I want people to see Jesus through me, you know?
Yeah.
And so even in raising my family and teaching them about being good examples and being good Christians, I always tell them, none of this belongs to us. And so that's another way that I feel like I'm taking up the cross, is saying that God has blessed us with these things. It doesn't belong to us. It all belongs to God. So therefore we freely give. If you truly gonna call yourself a Christian, you have to really strive for that. And no, it's not perfection, but you saying, hey, I signed up for this. Hey, I believe that the Lord sacrificed his life for me. I believe that he has forgiven me of my sins. And so I need to strive closer to what he calls of me and what the word and the truth says about who we are as people. And so if we can't do that on a daily basis, then we probably shouldn't call ourselves Christians.
All right. Yeah. So what are some of the ways that, if we're not doing this right now, what are some ways you think we could start? And how do you keep yourself motivated to follow Jesus to the cross?
So one thing that's super important to me, and that's been like the core of my journey with God along my life, and more so in the last 10 years, is community.
Yeah.
And so I find value in community. I find value in people's stories. I find value in differences. And so I strive in my walk to connect. And I'm a natural connector. And so I strive for that. That helps. That's one way that people can begin to take up his cross. Begin to just meet people where they are. Listen to people, listen to their stories, and really pursuing community is really like the best way to start on that journey. Because, I mean, if we are identifying ourselves as Christians and we are confessing that with our mouths, we really should be living it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean every single day you like, oh, I'm so awesome and the Lord is this. Some days we have rough days, right?
Yeah.
But then if we experience times where we feel like we're not aligned with what he's calling us to do, that's what he gives us grace and mercy. And we can just take a moment and repent and pray and say, hey, God, that wasn't like you. Oh, that was gross. So how about we just like, can you, talk to him and stuff? Because I believe in conversation with God, and he is definitely important in that journey. And when you try to start to really take up the cross, and it's a conscious effort every day. So
a good place to start is kind of the community, meeting people where they're at, that kind of stuff. And then also just kind of connecting with God on a daily basis. Cool. Well, thanks for being with us today.
Yes.
Right now, we're going to go into a time of communion where we remember the cross that Jesus carried, the one that would become the method of his death. And so as we eat the bread, we remember his broken body. As we drink the juice, we remember the blood that he bled to give us life. So during this next song, if you are a Christian, would you eat and drink with us and remember that Jesus didn't just tell us to die so that we could live. He died so that we could live.
There were walls between us. By the cross you came and broke them down.
Christian dies to live. A Christian dies to live. I think of Jesus offering us a trade. I'll trade you death for life. And while that sounds like a no-brainer kind of trade at first, as we heard from Eric, it's not that easy. But the idea of trading is something that we understand. It's something we do regularly. People trade their time and energy for money. They work for a paycheck, and then they trade part of that paycheck for groceries, for Netflix, for a vacation, a new car, and many of the other things that we spend our money on. Kids, you trade up stored energy in your bodies so that you can go outside and have fun and jump on the trampoline and play outside. You also trade your time doing chores so you can earn your allowance. Maybe you trade Pokemon cards. You know, students, maybe you trade, hopefully, you trade time and attention when you study for that math test or practice an instrument or maybe sit down to read a book. We trade for those things because we believe that the trade is worth it. Well, today, I want to encourage you to trade for something that's worth it. Trade some time doing chores, playing outside, watching TV, maybe playing that new video game, or any of the other things that you may want to do or need to do even right now, and instead go to bridgetownchurch.com/next. You can fill out a Connect card while you're there. You can send in a prayer request, but you're also going to find some questions that you can answer individually or with your family that will help you think through and take what was talked about today and connect it to your life. I promise you that the time that you spend working through those questions will be worth the trade. Are you going to have some profound revelation? Will the heavens open and God himself will speak to you? Well, probably not. I'd put money on that you won't. But trading time doing the thinking about those things and thinking about what you learned today when you could be doing other things says to the Lord that you do want him to speak to you. You want him to change you. You want him to challenge you and your family. It shows that you value his life, his work in your life, and you're willing to trade some focused attention so that that might happen. And on that page, you'll also see a link where you can give to BCC. You know, as a leader in this church, alongside Nathan and Eric, we know that every dollar that comes into the church is a trade you are making. When you give to Bridgetown Church, you're trading part of your allowance, part of your paycheck, some of your birthday money. You're trading what you could have done with that money to instead invest in the mission of this church. So we just want to say thank you. Thank you for making that trade, and we want to encourage you to continue to make that trade and give faithfully. BCC, it has been great to be a part of this with you today. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you very soon.